I'm an eternal optimist. Forever an optimist. I'll find good in just about anything. I have a really good friend that says he can't take me seriously because I can find good in anything. He goes, this is a rough world. This is a world that's full of heartache and misery. How can you find good in any of that? And it's just, well, that's just kind of the way that I was brought up, and this kind of life experiences brought me to this place. You know, the newspapers that are all disappearing, there are these things called personal ads. Have you ever heard of personal ads? It's all about dating. It's all about meeting people. You put a short description of yourself in a newspaper, and it kind of, allows other people to kind of pique their interest and get involved, and it'll call you or ask you out on a date or something like that. And my buddy said, why don't we talk about reality and what a real, honest personal ad would look like? And I just started laughing. And he goes, all right. I go, you want to hear mine? He goes, shoot. And I go, all right. Short, bald, half-neutered, chemoed, radiated, surgically repaired, male figure skater of unknown ethnic origin seeks beautiful woman for long walks, laughter, and an interest in my unique hobby of collecting life-threatening illnesses. And I found one. I can't believe it. It's incredible. So I grew up in Ohio. Yeah, that was extended. There must be a lot of Ohio people here today. And I was adopted at 6 weeks of age. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My parents brought me home, and they introduced me to my sister. And she took one look at me and said, he's not very cute. Can we take him back and exchange him for someone else? That's been my relationship with my sister ever since. But, growing up adopted was really kind of an amazing thing because they don't know what to expect. There's no real family history. There's no of athleticism or academics or, tall, short, medium, whatever. I mean, I was kind of like the bundle of surprise. Everything that came next was going to come next. And my parents were wonderful. They're just nurturers by nature. My father was a biology professor. My mother was in the home economics department, specialized in marriage and family relations. She was amazing, amazing people. And they were just, raising me to, be a good person and do all the right things. And they noticed, though, that hey, you have that counter when you're little that you can walk under, and then the next year you're banging your head on it. Well, my situation was I walked under the counter one year, and then I walked under the same counter the next year, and then I was still walking under the counter the next year, and they thought something is not right. And that started my 4-year tour of going in and out of hospitals to try to figure out what was going on with me and why I wasn't growing and developing. And it was a complete mystery. We started off in the Wood County Hospital, no answers. We went up to the Toledo Hospital, no answers. We went up to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Michigan? Michigan's going to have to work on it a little bit. Michigan! All right. So, and it was there they told me that if it went on for another 6 months, I probably wouldn't survive. And so my mother, with all of her optimism and dignity, said, thank you for your time and thank you for, everything that you've given us. We'll be leaving now. And we went to Boston, Massachusetts, the children's hospital there. Massachusetts? Not so much, Massachusetts. And it was there that the doctor said, I can't find anything wrong with him. There's something going on, but I can't find it. Why don't you go home, take him off the restrictive diets, and live a normal life? And so we went home, and our family doctor, who was our closest friends because we spent more time with him than anybody else, it seemed, they said, my kids are in the skating program over at the university, and you're exhausted. My parents were just exhausted. Why don't you send Scott every Saturday with my kids, and Sue, my older sister, could go too, and you can have some morning off, and he can have something to do where he'll be totally supervised. And they said, all right. And so at that point, I was having to, they took me off all the restrictive diets, but I was still taking this supplement that was basically a glass this big, it looked like, and it was filled with chalk liquid. It's like, now if you drink some of that medical stuff, at least they flavor it like chocolate or vanilla. Then it was just chalk. and it was disgusting. And so I was supposed to drink it, but I got to a point where I'd say, Mom, Dad, I'm going to drink this in the bathroom just in case I gag or something, so I'd go in the bathroom and, Oh, that was terrible. And it was one day when I was in there and I was dumping it out that I looked and my mother was standing behind me. And I needed these supplements, so what they decided to do was they put a tube down through my nose into my esophagus, and you saw the picture. It was taped to my face. That was my first day at the rink, was I had this thing taped to my face. And I walked in, I was so excited to be around a whole bunch of kids because in and out of hospitals all those years, I never really got to spend time with well kids that much. And I walked in and I was really excited, and they all looked at me like, I go, what's wrong? And they go, what's that thing coming out of your nose? And it's like, oh, it's a nose tube. I'm fed through this tube. Come on. You've never been fed through your nose before? Really? And so I started skating, and I realized that I was holding onto the wall and letting go, holding onto the wall and letting go. And pretty soon, I was going further without holding onto the wall. Pretty soon, I was going all the way around the rink, and pretty soon, I was skating as well as the well kids. And for the first time in my life, I had self-esteem. It was really powerful. And then pretty soon, I was skating as well as the best athletes in our school. And it was so exciting to think that I could do something as well as other people. And what happened was my legs started to develop, my belly started to get flatter. I mean, maybe I should go back to skating now. But I started to grow, and I started to develop, and I started to feel good. And it was this miraculous thing. It was just amazing. And so as I went through my skating, I did okay, and then I'd fail, and then I'd get hurt, and I'd do all the full adventure of skating. And it was around the time I was a senior in high school, where I was kind of making it to the national level, but I was failing miserably, that my mother came home from a physician's appointment. She said, family meeting. Family meeting. Has there anything ever good come out of a family meeting? Not really. She said, I just come back from the physician's office, and they found 3 lumps in my left breast. I've been diagnosed with a disease called cancer, and things are going to have to change around here a little bit. My sister was going to have to pitch in and help a little bit more with all the running around town with us. My brother was going to have to pick up and do some more chores. And for me, my mother said, this is your last year in skating. We're broke. We've got nothing left. Nothing. And you're just going to have to make it a great year. Last 3 years, you've gotten a little better, but I was still 9th at nationals, 9th at nationals, 7th at nationals. I mean, my skating really wasn't going to go anywhere, so they decided this would be my last year. And so I went to work. I worked really hard that year, knowing it was my last year. I put everything into it. And I get to the national championships that year, and I felt pretty good. I mean, it was the best I've ever skated in my life. And my mother had her arm in a sling because she just had her left breast removed and mostly underneath of her left arm. But she had this kind of lightness about her. She was in a lot of pain, but I could tell there was something really joyful going on with her. And so I went through my competition, and I went to try my first triple ever in competition. It was a triple Salchow. I landed it. I've never landed a triple in my life in competition, and I couldn't believe I was just still vertical. And I got around, and I finished my program, and I skated clean, and I won the junior national title of the United States. And it was like, finally, something. And it was then that I looked at my mom, and I said, okay, now can you tell me what's going on with you? And she said, yes. On the way here, I stopped in Chicago, and I met a wealthy couple. How about the whole state of Illinois? And I met a couple, and they want to sponsor your skating. So I had a second life in skating. I could go. I had to move to Denver, Colorado. And I would train under a coach that was going to coach Dorothy Hamill and John Curry to Olympic gold medals that year.